There's a special kind of pain that doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones we trusted to protect us. Yet they were the ones who pierced us the deepest. When someone you love disappoints you, ignores you, criticizes you, or forgets you exist altogether, the wound is not just emotional, it's spiritual. It shakes the foundation of who we thought we were in their eyes. But what if that pain wasn't just something to survive, but something to understand? What if there is a way to walk through the fire without becoming fire yourself? In today's reflection, we're going to explore the Buddhist path of inner calm, not by avoiding pain, but by transforming our relationship to it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let's begin. There's a reason why the first wound is the hardest to heal. It's not just because it hurts, it's because it changes something. Before that first betrayal, that first moment of feeling unseen, unloved, or disrespected by someone we trusted, there was innocence. A quiet, open belief that people meant well, that love was safe, that closeness was comfort, not danger. But once the first cut lands, a seed of doubt takes root. Not just in the other, but in ourselves. We start to wonder, was it me? Did I do something wrong? And worst of all, can I ever truly be safe again in the presence of another heart? In Buddhism, this moment, the shattering of our emotional skin, is known as a form of dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness of existence. But it is not random, nor is it always cruel, because sometimes the wound is where the light begins to leak in. Many of us carry a deep confusion around pain caused by others, especially when it comes from loved ones, parents, partners, friends. We want to forgive, but the sting lingers. We want to stay calm, but the mind spins stories. We want to move on, but the memory clenches like a fist around the heart. That's because the pain is layered. It's not just what they said, it's how it echoed something older, something we've felt before, maybe in childhood, maybe in a past life. The Buddha taught that suffering is rarely born from the moment itself. It's born from our attachment to what we hoped the moment would be. We expected comfort. We received coldness. We expected loyalty. We received silence. We expected safety. We received a wound. And that gap between expectation and reality is where suffering blooms. So, how do we stay calm when we are hurt? We start by honoring the truth. It hurts because we cared. This is not weakness. It's the mark of a human heart still open. And in Buddhist thought, this is a sacred thing. The goal is never to close off, to harden, to become immune to feeling. That is not equanimity. That is emotional death. The goal is to feel everything, but be owned by nothing. So the first step on this path is presence, not escape, not explanation, just sitting with what is. This hurt. It came from someone I trusted. I did not deserve it, and yet I am still here. This is the quiet power of mindfulness. It doesn't erase the pain, it holds it, like a mother holding a crying child, like the earth holding a fallen tree. No judgment, no agenda, just compassionate witnessing. There is a line in the Dhammapada. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is an eternal law. It means that our instinct to lash back, to defend, to shame, to punish, only deepens the cycle. But if, in the very moment we are wounded, we can breathe, pause, and return to our inner refuge, something changes. We shift from reaction to response, from hurt to healing. Because here is the deeper truth. No one can take away our peace unless we hand it to them. And while pain is real, suffering is optional. So when the first cut reopens, when the voice in our head screams, "They don't care about you," we respond not with panic, but with presence. Yes, it hurts, but this is not who I am. I can feel this and still be free. This is not suppression. This is strength. The kind of strength that smiles, not because it's unscathed, but because it knows that even in pain, it is whole. And that is where the healing begins. The wound is one thing, the echo is another. Someone says something careless, hurtful. A moment of disrespect, a subtle betrayal, a sharp tone, and then silence. But not inside. Inside, the mind comes alive. Like a cave with perfect acoustics, the hurt repeats itself, not once, but 1,000 times. Why did they say that? What did they mean? Was it about me? Should I have said something different? Should I say something now? This is the echo chamber of overthinking, the place where pain becomes permanent, not because the wound is still fresh, but because the mind keeps picking at the scar. In Buddhist psychology, this process is called papanka, the proliferation of thought. It's what happens when the mind takes a single moment and spins it into a never-ending story, a mental spider web where we become both the prey and the spider. Why does this happen? Because the ego seeks meaning. It cannot tolerate discomfort without a narrative to explain it. So when we are hurt, the ego starts collecting data, interpreting, reinterpreting, weaponizing memory. It finds 10 other times we felt this way. It links today's pain to yesterday's identity. It tells us we are always the one who gets left, that we are never fully loved, that people will always disappoint us. And suddenly, it's not about what happened. It's about what it means about us. This is how pain becomes identity, and identity becomes suffering. The Buddha warned about this mental cascade. He taught that suffering does not arise from the first arrow, what happens to us. It arises from the second, third, and fourth arrows we shoot into ourselves, our interpretations, judgments, and compulsive narratives. Someone hurts us. That's the first arrow. But then, I must be unlovable. They did this on purpose. I'll never trust again. Those are the arrows we fire ourselves. And what's tragic is, we don't even realize we're bleeding. So how do we stop? We start by recognizing the echo for what it is. A habit, a mind trained by years of emotional survival, now trying to make sense of pain the only way it knows how, by analyzing it to death. But clarity does not come from obsession. It comes from stillness. Try this. The next time the loop begins, pause. Don't follow it. Don't feed it. Just notice. Ah, the echo is here again. Give it a name. Give it space. Imagine the mind like a temple bell that keeps ringing long after the impact. You don't stop the sound by shouting over it. You let it fade on its own. This is what mindfulness teaches. Awareness without entanglement. To feel the emotion without becoming the story. To acknowledge the thought without believing it. To observe the echo without dancing with it. It may sound small, but this shift is everything. It turns reactivity into reflection. It turns chaos into calm. There's a Zen proverb, let thoughts come and go, just don't serve them tea. The mind will always generate stories. That's its nature. But suffering begins when we sit down with those stories, ask them questions, believe every word, and start decorating the room. And most of all, suffering deepens when we mistake our thoughts for truth. Because in reality, most of what we think is fear in costume. They hate me is fear of rejection. They're using me is fear of abandonment. They're better than me is fear of not being enough. But if we breathe, if we stay present, if we don't run from the feeling, it softens, and we start to realize something powerful. We are not our thoughts. We are the sky they pass through. Even the worst storm cannot stain the sky. Even the deepest wound cannot erase our clarity. So when the echo begins, let it echo. But do not answer. When the mind spins, let it spin. But do not jump on the ride. Return to the body, to the breath, to the unshaken part of awareness that has never been harmed. Because beneath the echo, beneath the spinning, beneath the ache, is peace. Not because the world has changed, but because we have stopped trying to control it. And that is the beginning of inner freedom. Pain was never meant to stay. It arrives like weather, heavy, sudden, often without warning, but it is not meant to take up residence. And yet, so many of us don't let pain move. We hold it, clutch it, wrap our identity around it. Why? Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that pain must mean something about who we are. That if someone hurt us, there must be something wrong with us. And so instead of letting pain flow like rain, we build dams of thought, walls of judgment, and flood ourselves with self-blame. But Buddhist wisdom tells a different story. It says that pain is just pain, not punishment, not identity, just sensation, just impermanence moving through a body that is alive enough to feel it. There's a teaching in the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the Buddha's core instructions on mindfulness, that encourages us to observe sensation as just sensation, not good or bad, not mine or yours, just the passing whisper of the world brushing through consciousness. The wind blows, the rain falls, the body aches, the heart breaks, and still, the sky remains the sky. So how do we learn to let pain move through? We begin by releasing the resistance. Pain intensifies when we fight it. When we say, "This shouldn't have happened." When we say, "I shouldn't feel this way." But the more we resist, the more pain knots itself into the body. Tight shoulders, a clenched jaw, a chest that forgets how to breathe. In that moment, the pain is no longer just emotional. It becomes physical, cellular. And then we wonder why we're tired all the time, why our sleep is shallow, why peace feels like a stranger. Letting pain move through us starts with permission. Permission to feel, permission to cry without apologizing, permission to sit in silence and not fix anything. This is not self-indulgence, it is self-respect, because the body holds every memory, and unless we allow the energy to move, it will stay, quietly leaking into every word, every relationship, every moment of stillness. Think of pain as a visitor. When we open the door, it walks through. When we slam the door, it camps outside and pounds louder. So open. Let the tears come. Let the shaking happen. Let the rage find safe release, not in destruction, but in expression. There's a reason why meditation begins with the breath, because breath is movement, and movement is medicine. The next time pain arises, instead of saying, "Make it stop," say, "Breathe through." Imagine each inhale as a gentle invitation. Come as you are. Each exhale, "I am letting go now." not because it's easy, but because it's the only way through. Grief, heartbreak, betrayal, they all carry an energetic weight, and energy must move. If not through breath, then through tears. If not through words, then through presence. If not through another person, then through stillness itself. Many people ask, how do I let go? But in truth, letting go is not something we do. It's something that happens when we stop holding, when we unclench, when we stop rehearsing the pain in our mind like a tragic play we've memorized by heart, when we stop needing the story to make sense and just let the feeling be what it is, temporary. The lotus does not bloom by force, it blooms by surrender. So must we. There's a deep intelligence in the body. It knows how to grieve. It knows how to heal. It's the mind that complicates it. Trust the body. Trust the breath. Trust that if we sit with the pain, not as an enemy, but as a messenger, it will say what it needs to say and then leave. Not because it's fixed, but because it's been felt. And that's all most pain ever asks for: to be witnessed, to be honored, to be allowed to pass through. As the Zen poet Ryokan once wrote, "Too lazy to be ambitious, I let the world take care of itself. 10 days worth of rice in my bag, a breeze in my face. What else do I need? Let the pain move, let the wind pass, and in its wake, peace will find its way in." Compassion is often misunderstood. People think it means weakness, letting others walk all over us, accepting bad behavior, keeping the door open for those who have already burned the house down. But true compassion is not passive. It is not naive. It is not an invitation to be harmed again. True compassion is strength. It is fire wrapped in velvet. It is a shield, not a white flag. Buddhism teaches that compassion, karuna, is not about liking someone, nor is it about pretending everything is okay. It is the sincere wish for another being to be free from suffering, even if that freedom means loving them from afar, even if that means no longer being in contact at all. This is important to understand because many of us, especially those who feel deeply, confuse compassion with tolerance. We stay in harmful dynamics because we feel bad for them. We soften our boundaries because we see their pain. We accept less than we deserve because we don't want to hurt someone who is already hurting. But compassion without wisdom becomes martyrdom. And the Buddha never asked anyone to become a martyr. He asked us to wake up. So, what does it mean to be compassionate and wise? It means seeing clearly. It means recognizing someone's suffering without letting it justify their cruelty. It means saying, "I see your pain, but I will not let it spill into me." It means protecting your peace not out of spite, but because you've learned that you can't save anyone by drowning beside them. There's a story from the Buddhist tradition about a monk who carried a scorpion out of a river. Each time he reached in to save it, the scorpion stung him. A traveler watching nearby asked, "Why do you keep helping it if it keeps hurting you?" The monk replied, "Because it is the scorpion's nature to sting, but it is my nature to save." That sounds noble, but it's not the full teaching, because even the monk, if wise, would eventually find a leaf or a stick to carry the scorpion, so he would not be harmed in the process. This is the key. We must not lose our compassionate heart, but we must also develop skillful means, skillful ways of loving from a distance, of helping without being drained, of staying kind without staying stuck. In modern terms, this is called emotional boundaries. But in Dharma, it's even deeper. It is the understanding that every being is on their own karmic path, and no amount of love can override their free will or their readiness to awaken. So when someone hurts us, when they lie, betray, abandon, or manipulate, we don't have to become like them. We don't need to retaliate. But we also don't need to keep them in the temple of our lives. We bow to their suffering. And then we close the gate, not out of hate, but out of clarity. Because compassion is not just about others. It's about you, too. It's about treating your own heart with the same gentleness you offer to the world. So, if someone has hurt you deeply, and you're still trying to be the bigger person, let me offer you this. Being the bigger person does not mean staying silent in the face of harm. It means choosing dignity over drama. It means walking away without needing to be right. It means holding your head high, not to feel superior, but to stay aligned with your truth. It means understanding that letting go is sometimes the most loving thing we can do. There is no enlightenment in self-abandonment. There is no wisdom in letting your spirit bleed just to prove how kind you are. Compassion, real compassion, is not a collapse. It is a centeredness. It's the calm in your chest when you say, I love you, I forgive you, and I release you. It's the quiet confidence that says, I see your wounds, but I will not let them reopen mine. It's the strength to feel sadness without becoming bitter, the grace to walk away without closing your heart, the knowing that choosing peace does not mean pretending pain never happened. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, hatred does not cease by hatred, hatred ceases by love. This is an eternal law. But love, in its highest form, is not attachment. It is space. It is patience. It is the willingness to let each soul walk their path, even if it means walking alone for a while. So the next time you feel torn between kindness and self-protection, remember, you don't have to choose. You can be both gentle and unshakable. You can hold compassion in one hand and boundaries in the other, because that, dear one, is how we heal without hardening, how we forgive without forgetting, how we stay soft without staying stuck. And that is how compassion becomes a shield. There's a quiet revolution that happens when we stop trying to win. Not the kind of victory people clap for, not the kind that comes with applause or vindication or a social media quote about how karma will get them back, but the kind that happens in the privacy of the soul, the kind no one else may ever see. The moment when we choose peace over proving anything. Because let's be honest, when we are hurt, the ego wants revenge. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, I'll show them. I'll become so successful they'll regret everything. I'll be so happy they'll hate themselves for losing me. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. That desire to prove something is still bondage. It means they still have a hold on our mind. It means we're still living in reference to the wound. And as long as we're doing that, we're not free. Freedom, real freedom, is when we no longer need them to know. Not our pain, not our strength, not our journey, not even our healing. Because our healing is not for them, it's for us. And for the version of us that silently waited, longed, and suffered, hoping someone else's change would set us free. But the Buddha never promised that others would change. He only said you can, and that is more powerful than any revenge. Peace in this light becomes the most radical form of rebellion. Because in a world that tells us to fight back, clap back, bite back, choosing stillness is an act of spiritual warriorship. Not because we're weak, but because we're done bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice if we did. There's a passage in the Sutta Nipata where the Buddha says, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not moved by praise or blame." Notice the balance, praise or blame, because peace isn't just about not reacting to hatred. It's about not being addicted to validation either. It means walking through the fire of betrayal, rejection, judgment, and not needing to throw it back at anyone. Not because we've forgotten, but because we've finally remembered who we are. And who we are is not defined by how others see us. We are not our pain. We are not the broken version someone left behind. We are not the stories they told or the roles we played. We are the awareness beneath all that. And that awareness is untouchable. So what do we do when someone has hurt us deeply and still doesn't care? We stop giving them a front row seat to our suffering. We stop performing our healing to prove a point. We stop arguing with ghosts, and we start living, not to make a statement, not to win anything, but because life is too short to carry what was never ours to begin with. That's what peace really is. It's not a state of passivity, it's a quiet declaration. I will no longer abandon myself for your approval, your apology, or your acknowledgement. It's choosing joy, not as a weapon, but as a way home. It's walking into the next chapter not because they apologized, but because we're finally done bleeding in the old one. I once heard a monk say, "The best revenge is no revenge, just a life well lived." And that line stayed with me. Because it's not about denial, it's about transcendence. They don't need to know how far you've come. They don't need to witness your awakening. Some people will never be able to meet you where you are going, and that's okay. Let them go. Let them say what they will. Let them twist the story. Let them live in the world their mind creates. You choose stillness. You choose kindness, not because they earned it, but because you deserve to live unpoisoned. You choose peace, not as surrender, but as sovereignty. Because at the end of the day, peace is not a passive state. It is the strongest form of self-respect. It is the refusal to let pain define the rest of your life. It is the decision to not be controlled by what already ended. So if they ask, "Why are you so calm?" you don't owe them an answer. Let your silence speak. If they say, "You've changed," smile, because that's the point. And if they try to come back, let your peace be the door they cannot enter. Because once you've chosen peace over performance, over punishment, over proving anything, you've already won. So, breathe. Let this be enough for now. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. You don't need to plan your next move, rehearse your strength, or pretend the wound didn't sting. Just be here, quiet, whole, alive. Because healing isn't loud. It's not a performance. It's a soft returning to your breath, to your body, to the quiet truth beneath every heartbreak. You are still worthy of peace. No matter who left, no matter what was said, no matter how deeply the blade went in, there is still a part of you that was never broken. That part is listening now. And maybe, just maybe, that's all that matters. So walk gently, speak kindly, forgive slowly but surely. And remember, your calm is not a weakness, it's a boundary. a prayer, a vow to your inner self that from this moment on, you will not trade your peace for anyone else's chaos. Let it be so.